Max Colwell, When I Was Young. Janine Bryan. Max Colwell, When I Was Young. Janine Bryan. Forward. An oral history is a record of a person's memories of their life. It tells us much about their family, schooling and interests. This book records some of the important things Max Colwell remembers about his childhood. I taped an interview with Max. This recorded information was typed and edited. Max then read the edited text. He checked to make sure that it was an accurate record of his memories and of his viewpoint of events at the time. Janine Bryan. Australia. Who? Max Colwell. When? Born in 1926. Where? Adelaide, South Australia. Occupation, writer. Max Colwell lived with his brother, parents and grandparents in a small cottage during the Depression, a time of great hardship. Max's story. Above. Houses similar to Max's home in Brompton. I lived in a narrow street in Brompton, South Australia. All the small workers' cottages were built close to the footpath. Around us were foundries, tanneries, the gasworks and pug holes. Clay for brickmaking was dug from the pug holes. My grandfather started work in one of these when he was 9 years old. My father, who was a harness maker, was out of work for 6 years in the Depression. There was no dole. The family was given a special card which we had to show shopkeepers to get food. Max's parents Elizabeth and Leonard Colwell, circa 1939. We didn't have a refrigerator. An iceman would bring blocks of ice for the ice chest. Left an ice chest. There were other people who delivered food. We used to buy skinned rabbits from the rabbit man who came past every few days. Fruit and vegetables were delivered to the house by the greengrocer. The baker delivered bread from a horse and cart. Max's grandparents, Henry and Mary Colwell, circa 1932. On summer nights, families would sit outside and talk or tell stories. My grandfather used to tell many funny and fascinating stories. One of my favourite stories was about Rufus, the cattle dog. Rufus had lots of fleas, but he was a clever dog, and when he was in the bush, he used to pick up a stick, hold it in his mouth, and swim out into the water. Then all the fleas would crawl along his back, over his head, and out along the stick. When they were all on the stick, Rufus would let the stick go. That's how Rufus got rid of his fleas. I didn't enjoy school. I worried too much about being caned for getting things wrong. Max in school uniform. Hindmarsh Primary School. Now the original building is used as a community resource centre. After school, friends and I would play down a pug hole. We'd slide down the edge of the pug hole on bits of iron. On school holidays we sometimes went to the beach on a double-decker bus. We'd sit upstairs in the open. Sometimes we went on a steam train to the city or the hills. Although my childhood friends and I dreamed of faraway places, we stayed mostly in the streets of our own suburb. Above, Charles Kingsford Smith. My childhood hero was Charles Kingsford Smith, Smithy, the aviator. My friends and I tried to fly too by jumping over the edge of a pug hole using an umbrella. It was the greatest mistake of our lives. One of my most vivid memories is of listening to the radio as the Prime Minister announced that Australia was at war with Germany. The outbreak of war in 1939 changed our lives. Years later I was conscripted into the army. Above, Sir Robert Menzies, Australian Prime Minister, 1939. Above, Max in army uniform. I knew some marvellous characters in my local area, such as Grub and Moonlight, two old hawkers who came to the door selling thimbles, cotton and knitting needles. And there was Fowlhouse Jack, who would sneak into fowl houses and steal eggs. These characters and others made such an impression on my life I never forgot them. Later, I used many of them as basis for characters in my novels. Glossary. Conscripted, made to join the armed forces. Depression, a time when many people are unemployed and spending is reduced. Dole, money that the government gives to people who are unemployed. Double-decker bus, a bus where passengers can sit on upper and lower level seats. Foundries, a factory where metal and glass are melted down and poured into moulds. Harness, the leather straps and other equipment needed to control a horse and cart. Hawkers, people who travel from place to place selling goods. Ice chest, a container for food that is cooled by ice. Tanneries, a factory where animal skins are made into leather.